Alright, welcome, and just bear in mind that this is my first video ever posted, so I'm not very good at this. Here I have the tech module of my module ship, which I will be using for this demonstration. Right now, what I need to do is, for the sake of this, to speed it up a little bit, I will just choose hangar, the hangar module, and I will just paste it as if I have built it in survival. If you project this, you won't see the doors, but however, as I paste it, it has already a preset in the projectors to project these doors. Now, what I will do is as if I was in survival. The only reason I'm doing this in creative is, as you can imagine, the speed of it. I will use a welder ship to weld, and since it's in creative, it will be instantly. But I will do it as so you can see how it's done. As I weld the doors, I make sure that everything is welded, and I'll move out of the way, and everything is welded on that door. Moving on to this door. And when you're building this module, you'll notice that as soon as the projector block finishes, the hologram of the projection will come up. Now this allows you to weld it instantly because they're already attached to one of these arms. And then you will need this assisting tool, which is just a basic little ship that I made in order to help with attaching the doors. Like I said, the doors are pre-aligned with the projectors. The projections are set in the proper position. Now, these arms I will recommend not to move or remove. As you can see, yellow is up on a module, purple is then on one side, light blue on the other side, and green at the bottom. What you just saw is the green here attached to the helping tool. Right now, we'll go inside the hangar itself, have a look. To know which direction is what, the cockpit in the hangar determines the front. Now, that means that the light blue is on the right side and the purple is on the left side. Now that says that the designated projector and button panel that is colored purple is corresponding to this door, and vice versa on this side. As you proceed to this stage, what you will need to do is, before detaching the door itself, you will need to detach the assisting tool. And this is the assisting tool, which is just basically a small ship built in large frames. Its only purpose is to hold the doors as you're assembling, and you have to be a little bit careful while driving this because it's very overpowered for its size, so it moves very quickly. Now what you'll need to do is try to align yourself with this ship and the door, which can be a little bit tricky, but with some practice and taking your time, it shouldn't be too hard to do. And I'm assuming if you're ever to attempt this build, you are not some newbie that doesn't know what he's doing. Now, align yourself sideways. Then align yourself with the door as flat as you can with the landing gear. As you approach, you'll see if you're off by the angle. And turn on button 1 enables auto docking, which helps in this situation, and it will lock on as soon as I come close enough. And there we are. Hold down your Alt button at all times. You only need to move forward and backward and sideways with your WASD buttons while you are locked into the door. Now, hold your Alt button while pressing T to get out of the cockpit, because you want to make sure that you don't jiggle this thing around as it's attached to the door. Now, this is more important when you remove this arm, which is the next step, removing the arm and detaching the door. Now, as you can see, this little thing that is the assisting tool holds the door in the place that we want it. Now, as you jump into the cockpit, the first thing you want to do is press Alt so you don't wiggle, because the slightest little millimeter that you move will make this a lot harder. Now, as soon as you get in, all you need to do, hold down your Alt button and keep look with your mouse and just look at the gap in between the door and the hull of the module. And you just fly straight forward, straight forward, and as slow as possible. Now, what you want to make sure is that the gap is not too small. It can't be too snug. You have to have a little bit of gap. And this is because if you get too far in, the rotor head will start bumping into stuff, and you get out of you get the wrong angle. And this looks about the right distance. I'd say about 30 to 40 centimeters. Maybe we'll propel a little bit forward. There. Now hold your Alt button still, and then press T, and then release Alt button so you don't jiggle it. Now, as it's aligned with the opening, we'll head inside, and we remember that we're working on the light blue side as we fly in. The light blue side is then, looking at the cockpit, is the right side. And as you can see, the gap is pretty good. Everything looks to be aligned. Light blue projector, light blue button panel. And this button has only one purpose, to lock in this. And as you click, you'll notice a huge rumble, and you can feel it just shaking up real bad. But that's when this heavy door made out of heavy armor attaches, and you can see the rotor is now in place, but the door's a little tilted or rotated. What you'll need to do is test it. You go here on the little console, press K, right, rotor, and this is the right side, so we go to rotor right, and then minus 180 lower. That means, in this case, the current angle is minus 177. So this one is close to what position you want. Now, in order to align it a little bit, the RPM means we have to go further down the negative side towards 180 in order to align it. So first press reverse so it starts to subtract, and the angle needs to move 3 degrees negative. So as we turn it on, it starts to move. Turn it off as soon as it's in position, and first door is then attached and aligned. I do not advise using the displacement, because you will need this gap during high velocity travel, especially with the gravity drive, which I will come to later on. As the door snaps and now is locked into position, we move on to the next door, where we have to go through the same procedure. Hold in your Alt button, press button 1, then button 2, and fly straight back. And as we're disconnected, we'll just fly to the other side. This thing's pretty slow, this assisting tool, but it serves a very simple purpose. So, doesn't need to be faster. Now, as I try to align, I look at it from the side. As you can see, I'm not totally aligned yet. A little bit down, that was a bit too much, then a little bit up. There we go. And from above, looks alright. Turn on button 1 for auto docking. You see it light up blue. You fly it forward until it locks there. Don't release your Alt button, but press T and disconnect the door. And be ready to press your Alt button, jump in the cockpit, Alt button, and now we can just fly straight forward while watching the gap. Like I said before, keep flying slowly, very slow, very slow, and what you want to look at is the gap. You just want it exactly the right. And there we go, I think. And just check in for unaligned blocks. Everything looks just about right. Doesn't have to be 110%, it just has to be good enough. Now, cockpit, right side, we've done that. Cockpit, left side, purple projector, purple button panel, and attach. And you'll watch now, I'll just let go of my mouse and you'll see how it shakes as it snaps in. The head snaps into the rotor. And now, the same thing here. The door's probably a little bit rotated. And it looks good, no damage. And we'll test it, or set it properly. Rotor. This was the left side. Upper. It says upper 180 in the name. And that means the upper should be at 180. And you can see the angle is 180 on the positive side. And the RPM is on the negative, so we reverse it. And then we have a positive velocity, which will increase the current angle towards 180. And as you turn it on, it goes to the correct angle, and it's aligned and locked in. Now both rotors are off, and while they're off, you can now choose if you want to remove. You can remove that button panel, that projector, and this button panel, and that projector, and this projector. Then it's time to do a dry run. As the angles are set correctly and everything on the doors, all the button panels, this one, that one over there, and over there, should all be set to the rotors already. And on the outside you have two panels doing the same thing. Button 1 will reverse the direction of the door. Button 2 will turn off and on the rotors. Now we'll just try to reverse it. Reverse and turn them on. And as we turn them on, you'll see the lights. They're red indicators that the door's moving. And you'll see the doors move in the right direction. And they are set to stop at 180, which will be the opposite of the original position. As far as circles go, there we go. Locked in. Correct position. Both doors open. And now we can detach the helping tool. I just jump in, hold the Alt button, press button 1, button 2, fly backwards, and steer clear, like this. And I'll move the welder as well, so we can do a proper test. There. Now, the module itself, when it's on its own, is so light that the rotors will actually move it, but we'll now try to shut it up. Same button, doesn't matter where you click. Any of these button panels that remains. Button 1, indicated by 1 yellow square, will reverse the direction of the door, and this button 4, indicated by 4 yellow squares, will shut the rotors off. And as it closes up, I will show you what to do if you're using the gravity drive on the modular ship, because these doors, like I said earlier, the rotor head is not an actual part of the module, and everything attached to the rotor head, like right now the door, is also not a part of this module. And this goes for any rotor anywhere. And that's why it's so hard to make a projection, a blueprint that you can project. Because when you project it, the door attached to the rotor head will be a different grid. And the projector can only load one grid at a time, so that will be only the rotor and the ship hull. That's why the door's loaded on a projection separately, and then you assemble it like you've done here. Now, first of all, I'll turn off, and you can see the green lights come on, and as it's turned off, I will now set it ready for gravity drive. I write rotor, and then the rotors has to have the current angle. You see the current angle is 180 here. That means the lower limit also has to be 180. And then on the right rotor, the same thing, minus 180. That means the other limit has to be set to negative 180, like that. Now, that means the door can't move anywhere from its current angle, because the current angle is 180. The lower limit is 180, upper limit is 180, or negative 180. And this means that the door can't move, and it shouldn't flop about if you use the gravity drive, because the gravity drive accelerates the entire module ship and all its modules around, well, it reaches 104 meters per second in somewhere between 1 and 2 seconds. Now, to demonstrate that, I'm just going to remove the tech module, and I'm going to load in a gravity drive module, spin it around as it should be right there. Align it a little bit. And as you can see, yellow is up, and then yellow has to be up on this one. Light blue, light blue. And we'll jump into the gravity drive. Jump in one of the flight seats. Now we have a little bit of a problem because I've attached the back, or attempting to. That means I'm gonna have to double check which is the front. Okay, this is the front, because I don't see a cockpit over there. That means the cockpit is right there. Yeah. So, the back, well, that's actually correct. The back of this thing has to go with the front of the next module. Doesn't matter if it's in front of or behind. I was planning on putting it behind, but it doesn't really matter. These modules can attach in any order or amount that you choose. Now, as I'm aligning the merge blocks, I can tell you that there will be slight damage on the doors, but not fatal damage. Also, when merging, this is important, when merging the hangar to another module, it's a good choice to put it ready for gravity drive mode, where you lock them both into the same angle where they are closed. This is because when the merge blocks lock in together, they cause a violent shake of the entire structure. And since the doors are, like I said before, not an actual part of the main structure, but rather a floppy attached piece, they will shake violently on the outside and cause damage. Now, this can also happen with accelerating and decelerating with the gravity drive, which I'm going to demonstrate now. But since we've set them ready for gravity drive mode, it shouldn't at least produce any major or critical damage. So, turning on the gravity mass, which is now activated. I guess you can't see it, but it's inside. Activated, and forward acceleration now. And maximum speed instantly. And you can see the doors are firmly in place. As I rapidly change to maximum backwards velocity, you'll see the doors move slightly. This is because they are not a fully integrated part of the ship. But I'll accelerate backwards, the same speed as I'm accelerating forward. Now, as you can see, I'm moving in a circle because the doors or the hangar itself is not as symmetrical as the rest, so they'll cause a asymmetrical drag on the hull. This will be equalized a little bit when you've attached several modules in a row, so the gyros will actually keep it straight for the most part. But as you can see, accelerating and decelerating, if you look at the speed on the right, you see that I'm now moving at 109 meters per second, or nearly 110. As I reverse, it'll go straight to the maximum velocity in the other direction. So 109 forward, 109 backwards there. Forward, backwards. And that's how fast the gravity drive is. And in order to stop myself from accelerating, I can turn on both and then just turn on, off, on, off, on, off on the opposite direction that I'm moving. It can be a little tricky in the beginning, and then once you're below 30 meters per second, you can just let the thrusters stop you. And then turn off the gravity drive, turn off the gravity, and that's about it. That's the demonstration. And now we'll inspect the hangar, and you can see that there is slight damage, which is to be expected and probably impossible to prevent, but there is no fatal damage. That's the main thing. This is as bad as it gets. But if you're considering accelerating 110 meters per second one direction and then 110 meters per second the opposite direction within the time frame of 3 to 4 seconds, this is an acceptable cost. And well, it doesn't cost materials, it just costs a little bit of time and maintenance. Because movable parts like rotors and pistons would usually snap, but because you're setting it to be immovable and it has maximum torque and braking torque, it will not fly off. Because in a normal scenario with this kind of build would be that if you don't have that setting, as soon as you accelerate, this entire section of heavy armor would start pulling backwards this way and dislocate the head from the rotor socket, and it'll go flying and tear up the whole side of your ship or whatever. And this is a way to work around that. It's not perfect, but it's workable. And that's all I wanted to show in this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the hangar module.